Thank you for joining us tonight. You're now with me, Shao Shaminato for TVS Nightline. We begin with the headlining stories. It is not encouraged to dine in or have your meal in a restaurant unless it is really necessary. This was the advice of the Assistant Minister in the Chief Minister's Department of Islamic Affairs and DBKU, Dr. Abdul Rahman Junaidi. He said this following the existence of the Delta variant in Sarawak, which is spreading and causing more aggressive infections.
Pada masa yang sama, masyarakat perlu mengambil perhatian seandainya tidak perlu untuk dine-in, tidak perlu untuk keluar makan. Jadi kita minta mereka tangguhkan dulu sehinggalah keadaannya lebih reda dan kita dapat mengurangkan kes ini dengan sebaik mungkin.
This has caused concern for many, even though the number of cases in Sarawak has been decreasing. He explained that all parties should take precautions because the effect of the Delta variant were more serious than other variants. Previously, the Sarawak State Disaster Management Committee and the Ministry of Housing and Local Government decided to allow customers to dine in eateries beginning on July 16. The decision was made after they had updated the Standard Operating Procedures (SOP) for the second phase of the movement control in the National Recovery Plan (PPN) for the necessary services in the retail economic sector.
And the process of scheduling COVID-19 vaccination for the first group of taxi drivers, e-hailing and P-hailing riders involving over 50,000 people in that service sector has started. This was announced by the Minister of Transport, Dr. Wee Ka Siong.
We added that the ministry had received a list of names from the operators and service companies last June, and the first group involves around 41,488 taxi drivers and e-hailing drivers, as well as 11,527 P-hailing riders. According to him, an additional number of 57,931 P-hailing riders has also been submitted for the consideration of the COVID-19 Immunization Task Force (CITF). Given the current COVID-19 pandemic situation, we said the ministry was targeting over 300,000 public transport drivers, including in the P-hailing sector in Klang Valley, to receive COVID-19 vaccine injections as soon as possible.
On the other hand, 2 more online gambling operation centres were successfully busted by police in 2 separate raids on Friday. The raids added to a total of 8 criminal syndicates being dismantled within a month in Kuching district.
Dalam serbuan ini, 2 premis yang diserbu. Yang pertama, kita telah menangkap 6 orang, semua warga tempatan, berumur 19 hingga 25, dan merampas pelbagai peralatan komputer yang digunakan untuk mengoperasikan pusat judi online secara haram. Serbuan yang kedua, selepas yang pertama, telah mendapat menangkap seramai 5 orang. Yang ini warga negara asing Indonesia. Dan dalam serbuan ini kita turut merampas pelbagai barang-barang komputer yang ada untuk tujuan mengoperasikan perjudian haram.
The 2 premises are located at 2 different levels of a luxury condominium at Airport Road, Kuching. The suspects were paid salaries of between 1,500 ringgit to 1,800 ringgit per month, and some of the detained suspects were found to have education up to diploma level.
Untuk makluman tuan-tuan, pusat calling center yang pertama yang kita serbu telah beroperasi sejak 7 bulan yang lepas. Dan berdasarkan siasatan awal pasukan saya, calling center ini telah mengaut sebanyak 1.68 juta dalam tempoh beroperasi. Dan calling center yang kedua baru beroperasi 3 bulan yang lepas. Dan kita membuat semakan dan siasatan awal mendapati telah mengaut keuntungan sebanyak 540,000 dalam tempoh 3 bulan. Hanya dioperasikan oleh 5 orang sahaja.
He disclosed that the organisers or tauke for both premises had been located and will be apprehended. All suspects and seized items were brought to the Kuching District Police Headquarters for further investigation under Section 4(1)(g) of the Open Gambling House Act 1953. Meanwhile, arrested foreigners will be investigated under Section 15(1)(c) of the Immigration Act. Previously, IPD Kuching made 6 raids, including on a premise which had made a profit of over 8 million ringgit since it started operating. And now on to the next update. A lorry driver remained unscathed after his tanker carrying 33.39 tons of natrium hydroxide turned turtle near KM 23 Jalan Skrang Betong around 9 a.m. this morning. The driver suffered only light injuries and has undergone a decontamination procedure at one of the Bombas fire trucks. According to the Fire and Rescue Department, the tanker was carrying alkaline base and odorless natrium hydroxide but very toxic. Bomba has also set up a 100-meter perimeter radius for a decontamination process as 2 leaking points were discovered on the overturned tanker. The cause of the accident is still being investigated. And now on to our COVID-19 development. Sarawak today recorded 388 new COVID-19 cases. SDMC in a statement today said the addition of new cases today brought to the total cumulative number of cases in the state to 71,039. Among the districts recording the highest cases in Sarawak today are Kuching with 194 cases, Serian with 44 and Sibu with 28. There were a total of 407 recovered cases, while 5,061 cases were still active cases and being treated. In addition, no deaths from COVID-19 were recorded in the last 2 days in Sarawak, and with this, the number of cumulative deaths stays at 443 cases. According to the statement, a new COVID-19 cluster was detected today, namely the Budup Longo cluster involving a village in Serian. A total of 93 individuals were screened from this cluster, with 24 testing positive.
Kami Fira Fandi sebagai Putit.
Ya, kalau dia Putit, saya Stunton James sebagai Bueng.
Jangan lupa untuk menonton drama komedi senyap Sayang Celorot Si Kuih Cincin
Pada setiap Sabtu dan Ahad pukul 12.15 tengah hari.
hanya untuk TVS saluran 122 Astro dan My TV. Guys, confirm mantul guys.
1, 2, 2.
7月19号星期一早上9点30分，我是华校生最后一集华校生的袁湘琴 Astro 频道122和 My TV 只在 TVS。
Rocking your weekends with a wide selection of music videos. From your favorite local artists to the fiercely indies, we've got you covered. Weekend Vibes New Season, every Sunday at 12:30 p.m. only on TVS Channel 122.
Kenyalang terbang jauh, meneroka dunia yang luas, meneroka cabaran, membawa jalan hidup di perantauan untuk keluarga, untuk negara, untuk kita semua. From Sarawak, with love.
Thank you for staying with me. Now, following the next news. The easing of restrictions for individuals who have been fully vaccinated against COVID-19 will be decided at the National Recovery Council meeting next week. Prime Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin said the proposed relaxation would benefit those who have completed the 2-dose vaccination.
Muhyiddin said the relaxation might include permission to go shopping or cross districts when a movement control order is in force. This would be in line with the opening of more economic sectors when states transition to Phase 2 of the National Recovery Plan or PPN, especially in the Klang Valley.
And on a related development, Muhyiddin said Pharmaniaga has completed its supply of 12.4 million doses of Sinovac vaccine order under the National COVID-19 Immunization Program. Its coordinating minister, Khairi Jamaluddin, on Friday said the program will now stop administering the Sinovac vaccine.
According to Khairi, Pharmaniaga Berhad had finished supplying 12 million doses of China's Sinovac vaccine to the government for the PIC earlier than the original schedule and has nothing to do with the vaccine's efficacy. In a statement, Pharmaniaga Berhad said that the supply of the Sinovac vaccine for the PIC had been completed, with the final batch to be supplied on July 21st. Pharmaniaga's contract to the government is to supply 12 million doses of the Sinovac COVID-19 vaccine on a fill and finish basis over a period of 7 months between May and November 2021. Meanwhile, Khairi said the government has decided to use the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine for the immunization program starting next month, while the Sinovac stockpile would be reserved for those who are allergic to other vaccines. To date, the government had received 6.66 million doses of the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, including 1 million doses contributed by the United States government recently.
And our total of 3,000 families in Kapit will receive food basket assistance under the People's Protection and Economic Recovery Package, or PERMULE. The assistance will involve Katibas, Pelagus and Bukit Goram constituencies. Through PERMULE, the federal government had approved a total of 300,000 ringgit for each member of parliament to help those in need at the constituencies. Kapit Member of Parliament Dato' Sri Alexander Nantalinggi said he had allocated a total of 100,000 ringgit for each Dewan Undangan Negeri constituency under in parliamentary constituency. With the limited funds, he said the assistance will be focused only on those who are in dire need. The distribution program will be implemented in a period of a month until August through a special committee with Kapit Parliamentary Service Centre. Meanwhile, Bintulu Division Disaster Management Committee (BDDMC) has eased the travel restrictions to Bintulu Division. This includes completing both doses of the vaccine within 2 weeks before entering Bintulu. Its chairman, Jack Amanluat, said individuals who have completely received both doses of COVID-19 vaccine will be exempted from undergoing a swab test. However, cross-district permits from the police are still required.
Manakala individu yang belum lengkap dos suntikan vaksin atau belum mencukupi tempoh 2 minggu daripada tarikh menerima dos yang kedua, mereka perlu ujian saringan COVID-19 RT-PCR iaitu 3 hari sebelum pergerakan masuk ke bahagian Bintulu.
Jack added swab test is no longer mandatory for those who transit or leave Bintulu.
Dan orang ramai bagaimanapun diingatkan agar tidak mengambil kesempatan atau mementingkan diri terhadap kelonggaran prosedur ini, terutama rentas daerah atau bahagian menggunakan keistimewaan dos kedua ini. Ekoran kita masih lagi dalam perintah kawalan pergerakan pemulihan bagi fasa yang kedua.
And the government will review all construction projects nationwide, particularly those which have yet to kick off, said the Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Dato' Sri Mustafa Mohammed. Elaborating further, Mustafa said this was due to many projects provided with allocations having undergone changes in terms of cost due to the increase in building material prices prior to this. Another factor is the increase in land prices, taking into account that it normally covers 40% of the project's total lost. Besides this, Mustafa said the implementation of projects has been rather slow due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. And now on to our sports development. National men's singles shuttler Lee Zijia, who is set to make his Olympics debut at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games next week, is capable of delivering a solid performance. According to Norza, the 23-year-old is clearly capable of managing pressure and remains focused on delivering the expected results. Besides that, Muhammad Norza also praised the spirit and determination exhibited by all the 8 national players placed under strict bubble conditions at the Malaysia Badminton Academy Asia ABM in Bukit Kiara, where they are undergoing the final phase of their training ahead of the Olympics battle. Orza said the immense challenges the players faced during the global COVID-19 pandemic had toughened them up not to give up in their quest to qualify and aim for an excellent performance at the Olympics.
Pandangan kita tu ada masalah, cik. Ikan kita nak ikut oleh cik. Jadi berapa lama dah masalah tu berlaku, cik? Oh.
Ya, 2-3 tahun cik ada lah.
Saya nak menyuarakan suara-suara sarana lain kita tu lah.
Ya, pukat tunda juga adalah antara satu faktor penurunan spesies ikan terubuk.
Kalau diorang ada dapat terubuk atau emperit, so diorang akan bawa yang hidup pergi dekat stesen, so kita akan bayarlah. Untuk meningkatkan populasi dia ni memang perlu kerjasama lah.
Anda seorang pelajar atau bekerja di sini. So, berapa lama sudah di Jepun? Apa langkah-langkah yang anda ambil untuk mencegah dari pandemik? Baik, anda bersama saya Hazuki Ijima. Hazuki Ijima, TVS Tokyo.
Yang kami ngau kami mesau kami nulah kami madah ni minta tentara ke biar tak antu dak lulu dah datai dituk sangkai dituk minta kami minta tolong minta sukuang kami tu leban kami tu bisik ibun lada kami tu dituk balada temi pengat nadai rega apa penyakit lumayuh ke sakit kulat sinutai nya ka buru ka kebu ka kesai kami tu.
Iris, I just want you to know, tiada benda yang lebih membahagiakan bila bersama dengan kita.
Abang, adik si gila. Adik si sakit. Adik si perlu semua tu. Adik perlukan sahur. Si guna ubah harta semua tu, tapi hati busuk macam bangkai.
Lama tinggal.
Aku sayang.
And now on to world affairs. Customers at Greek cafes and bars were allowed on Friday, July 16, to sit indoors after the government eased restrictions for those that are fully vaccinated. Restaurants, bars, cafes, nightclubs, theatres and cinemas are included in the measure by the government in an effort to reward those that have been vaccinated. Until now, only outdoor spaces or venues were open. Customers will have to show proof of vaccination, and theatres and cinemas visitors will have to also wear masks. A government-launched application, COVID-Free GR, which can scan digital vaccination certificates, is available to businesses to check customers. Some vaccinated customers in Athens welcomed the measure. About 48% of Greek adults have been fully vaccinated, and the government has said it wants to bring that up to at least 70% by the autumn. Greece has been dealing with a new spike in cases in the last weeks and announced mandatory vaccinations for employees in the health sector and in nursing homes. It reported 2,691 new infections on Friday, bringing the total since the start of the pandemic to 453,203. COVID-related deaths have reached 12,833. The Eiffel Tower reopened on Friday after an 8-month shutdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic, its longest closure since World War II. Because of lingering concerns about the virus, masks remain compulsory for anyone over 11 years of age, and each elevator car will only carry half the normal number of visitors. From July 21, visitors will need to show a French government health pass to demonstrate they are either vaccinated or have had a recent negative test for COVID-19. The attraction receives 7 million visitors each year during normal times, according to its website. Visitor numbers will be limited to 10,000 a day to meet social distancing requirements, fewer than half of their pre-COVID levels. Only half of the usual numbers will be allowed in the lifts. Tourists, mainly from Europe and the United States, are back in Paris, offering a glimmer of hope for businesses that rely on the influx of travelers to one of the world's most visited cities. The flow of tourists to Paris, many of them from Asia and the US, dried up almost completely last year, when the COVID-19 pandemic struck and governments around the world imposed travel restrictions. Today, July 17, marks the 7th anniversary of the downing of MH17, resulting in the tragic deaths of 298 passengers and crew members. The foreign ministers of Australia, Belgium, Malaysia, the Netherlands and Ukraine, which formed a joint investigation team on the incident, issued a joint ministerial statement to mark the 7th anniversary of the tragedy.
The statement was made available today by the Malaysian Foreign Ministry. In it, they reiterated their deepest sympathies and condolences to the families and loved ones of the victims of the downing of flight MH17. They acknowledged the cooperation of their respective investigative agencies and reiterated their full support on the efforts to establish the truth of what happened. Sir also said they have full confidence in the independent, open, and impartial criminal proceedings against the alleged perpetrators. Meanwhile, Malaysia remains steadfast in its position to see all evidence related to the downing of MH17 over Ukraine made public and the judicial process be conducted fairly and not affected by any political pressure in order for justice to prevail. In a statement by Malaysia's Transport Ministry, MOT, today, Malaysia said it is always committed to giving full support to efforts to bring those responsible for the shooting down of MH17 to justice and hope that the COVID-19 pandemic would not be an obstacle to the efforts to uphold justice for the victims. Malaysia Airlines flight MH17 from Amsterdam to Kuala Lumpur went down over eastern Ukraine on July 17, 2014. It is believed that the Boeing 777 was hit by a surface-to-air missile supplied to pro-Russian rebels in eastern Ukraine.
And China's Foreign Ministry spokesperson on Friday said the lab leak theory of the origin of the coronavirus pandemic was extremely unlikely and pointed to frozen food as a possible cause of the pandemic.
今年3月，世卫组织正式公布了中国世卫组织联合溯源研究报告，得出包括实验室泄漏极不可能，在全球更广范围内继续寻找可能的早期病例，进一步了解冷链及冷冻食品在病毒传播过程中的作用等重要结论。这是一份科学和权威的报告，也是下阶段全球溯源工作的基础。
The origin of the pandemic has become a source of political tension between China and the United States, with much of the recent focus on the Wuhan Institute of Virology, located in Wuhan, where the outbreak was first identified in late 2019. China has been criticized for its lack of transparency when it comes to disclosing data about early cases, as well as the viruses studied at the institute. The joint study published in March said COVID-19 most likely originated in the country's wildlife trade, with the virus passing into humans from bats via an intermediary species. But Beijing has promoted the theory that COVID-19 entered China from overseas via contaminated frozen food, while a number of foreign politicians in countries, including the US, have called for more investigations into the possibility it leaked from a laboratory.
And that story concludes TVS Nightline for tonight. And as we still are fighting with the mother of all pandemics, I would like to urge all locals to always stay vigilant. Here with me, Cheryl Chamato, and I'll see you next time. Have a good weekend.
Boleh si kau explain apa tu dengan aku?
Kami mau hantar tu sebagai idea kami.
Dokumentari, magazine, variety show, drama series, film movie, semua sekali kau mau pitch.
Mestilah sebab dia kan kategori yang open talk, pitching talk. Kami nak bola cooking show, tapi
menyampah aku nak idea tu. Biasa gila. Reject.
Macam ni dengan idea tu.
Idea kau aku terima. Sikit pesan aku dengan kau. Mun ada kawan kita nak hantar idea pitch 2021 tu, pastikan
buat turun orang punya tangan anda di www.tvstv.my/pitch dan daftar sebelum 10 Ogos 2021.
United Kids of Oi!
Jangan lupa saksikan Nembiak Toronto setiap Sabtu jam 11.15 pagi hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan MyTV.
Dalam kebangkitan Ertugrul, Puak Kai telah menerima satu berita yang membuatkan Selchan untuk berhadapan dengan Sulaiman. Seorang pelawat yang tidak dijangka telah berjumpa dengan Afsin. Dalam Titus dan Kurdoglu cuba untuk membaik pulih rancangan mereka, Sahabetin dalam diam memerhati mereka berdua. Dan apa yang akan terjadi kepada Ertugrul dan Halimi? Jangan lupa saksikan Kebangkitan Ertugrul Isnin hingga Khamis 10.30 malam hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan MyTV.
Yang kami ngau kami mesau kami lah kami madah minta tentara tak biar tak antu dak lulu dah. Datai dituk, sangkai dituk, minta tolong, minta sukuang kami tu, leban kami tu bisik, ibun lada kami tu dituk. Balada kami pengat nadai rega apa penyakit, kalau mayuh kasih sakit kulat, kasih nutai nyak kat buru, kat kebu, kat kesai kami tu.
Welcoming to the studio, we have Sway.
Jangan lupa saksikan Nembiak Toronto setiap Sabtu jam 11.15 pagi hanya di TVS saluran 122 Astro dan MyTV.